I am so excited to be here today at Decrypt, especially since it is with my new company, Unstoppable Domains, as well as with my past company, Amazon Web Services, who I absolutely adore and learn so much at. Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you for allowing me to discuss and talk about digital identity with all the great folks there that are in Bangalore. I'm going to start with the blockchain because I feel it's so fundamental to digital identity. I'll go through both of those in about 30 minutes. If you have questions, since I'm not live with you, please make sure you tweet them to me at Sandy Carter_Carter. You can also reach out to me on Telegram or LinkedIn or so many other places too. Make sure though, if you do have a question, somebody else probably has it too. So post it there. I'll summarize this presentation and you can let me know what you want to do. My name is Sandy Carter and I am Unstoppable Domains SVP for partnerships as well as marketing and our channel chief. And I am so excited to be at Unstoppable. We are a digital identity company. Forbes just named us one of the top startups in the US region, and we just got our unicorn funding. So we're now a unicorn. And just a little bit more about us. We have over almost 400 partners now, 2.5 million different domains, which are used as your digital identity. And we support over 10 different blockchain EVM chains as well. So if you don't know about us, please check us out. I also tell you this information because I'm going to be showing you examples of digital identity that come from Unstoppable, because I'm from Unstoppable and I have a lot of great examples, but it could be applicable across many different areas. So let me start out with an analogy. So first of all, I have 2 daughters, phenomenal girls. And every Sunday we have a tradition. I make them pancakes. And so it's become something that's been a kind of a festival for us for a while. And one day, it was around Easter time, they brought me this pancake and they said, "Mom, could you make us this pancake? Could you have it look like this bunny ears on the pancake?" So I looked at it and I thought, oh, of course I can make that pancake. Now I want to pause because I'm sure what you're doing is you're sitting there snickering right now because my pancake isn't quite as perfect as the picture that they gave me. But let me tell you 3 lessons I learned from this little engagement. First, I pleased my customer. At Amazon Web Services, we call that customer obsession, because my 2 daughters loved it. They thought it was the best pancake ever, and they posted it all over Instagram. Second, this is an MVP, and as typical MVPs, user interface needs a little bit of work. And third, it's all about experimentation. You know, this was my first time trying it. I learned a lot about making this pancake. Just as when you're in business and you're trying out something for the first time, when you try it out, you learn a lot, and then you get better the second time and better the third time. That continuous improvement really makes a big difference. And so that's really where we are today in Web3. And I'm going to chat with you a lot about Web3 today. We are in that dial-up phase. And that means we're still experimenting. I'll talk about where we are today, but more importantly, where I see the vision for the future. Where will we head as well? Now, I'm excited to be here today in India virtually because I see so much opportunity in this region. And if I look at, basically India, Singapore, the big countries in Asia, $360 billion will be built on this digital economy by 2025, which in reality is really not that far away. And so I'm really excited about the potential and really excited to make sure that all of us know when we talk about this digital economy of the future, what that looks like. So I am a very visual learner. And so I tend to think of things in pictures. So I wanted to start out with a picture of how I see things fitting together. In 30 minutes, we're not going to talk about all of this, but I think it's important for context for you to understand what we will talk about and where it fits in. So I view the thing in the center as my layer cake. You can see I've got a love of food, pancakes and cakes, right? But at the bottom of my layer cake, I have blockchain. I'm going to just do a couple highlights on that because The metaverse and Web3 are built on the blockchain. That is really the backbone on which everything is built. And why? Because it's trusted, it's private, and it's secure. All the important elements that you need for the internet of the future. Then Web3 sits on top of the blockchain, and Web3 is simply an open movement to decentralize the internet and provide for ownership of your data and your digital identity. So that's where we'll start talking about digital identity. Now, sitting on top of that is the metaverse. And you can't have a metaverse that's a Web2 metaverse, but a Web3 metaverse will sit on top of that digital identity and blockchain. It will bring to the table virtual reality, augmented reality, in some cases, IoT, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence as well. The metaverse is just simply a digital experience or a digital world that you can live, work, and play in. We won't talk much about the metaverse today. And then there are interfaces, and I tell everyone we're in the dial-up phase and we need help on the interface. So if you're a startup out there looking to start creating in the space, please look there, because I think that's one of the areas that we need to dramatically improve upon. Now, surrounding my layer cake, and I'm not 100% sure about this picture, but let me give you my idea, is that there are DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. It's really the new governance model of the future, where the community speaks, votes, and inputs. Very similar to Amazon Web Services being customer obsessed, listening to your customer. This goes one step further and actually has your customers vote, not just give you information, but actually vote on what they're looking for. Typically, it has artificial intelligence that drives that DAO or that decentralized autonomous organization and really provides a governance model around that. Now, on both sides of my layer cake, I have the two-sided marketplace. I think that part of this two-sided marketplace is what makes Web3 different as well, because on the left-hand side, for me anyway, you see the creator economy, which is different in Web3. It brings in artists and musicians. It really is about creators. And then on the right-hand side is that consumption model. It's a multi-sided consumption model that is digital. So we can't go through the whole thing, but I did want to start out before we jump into digital identity, talking just for a couple of minutes on the blockchain, because I believe it's such an important element. If you think about the blockchain, it is where I went down the rabbit hole. When I was working for Amazon, I saw a lot of our customers using the blockchain. I saw the power of it. And what is blockchain? Well, it's simply blocks of information that are decentralized. And why it's so important, I believe, are these 5 elements. First, it is very transparent. So when something goes on the blockchain, it can be public. It is open source. Now, that doesn't mean if you have healthcare data there, everyone can see it, because you can block viewing, but it is a transparent source of data. It does support user ownership. And for me, the difference, if I had to say in one word, between Web 2 and Web 3 is ownership. And so the blockchain enables that user ownership. The third thing that I think is so important about the blockchain is it is interoperable. So it enables you to move data between applications, which is so crucial. If you look at the differences between Web 2 and Web 3, everybody can use the data. It is immutable, which means it can't be changed. Today we tell our kids, be careful what you post on Instagram or TikTok. But I think what we really should be saying is be careful what is stored on the blockchain. And then it is also, of course, programmable. And we're seeing lots of companies pop up with SDKs around blockchain and different ways to assemble it, smart contract versus smart assets as well. But I think this is such a special part of this new internet that I wanted to make sure I highlighted it. Now, I know you guys know Polygon. They are one of the partners I look after actually at Unstoppable. I am honored and just so ecstatic that I get to really work with them on a daily basis. And today we have over 1 million Unstoppable domains that have been minted on that layer 2 of the blockchain. But now, the talk is supposed to be on digital identity, but I did want to go through that blockchain, because everything I'm talking about is enabled because of the blockchain. So I'm going back to my layer cake picture, and we started with that blockchain layer. Now we're going to go up to Web3. I'm really not going to focus today on that decentralized accessing decentralization that comes from the chain, but I will spend the time today on the digital identity. Hopefully, maybe I can come back another time and take you through the whole layer cake. So let's talk a little bit about digital identity. And let me start with what is it? So in order to explain it, what I'd like to do is to share with you what it is today in a Web 2 world. So in a Web 2 world, we call this the platform economy. And in the platform economy, what you're able to do is to sign into all those amazing Google applications. And those amazing Google applications, because you have the convenience of signing in, let you use a username and password, but all the data is secured by Google, right? I can't take that data with me when I go sign into Facebook or when I go sign into Twitter, because all of my data stays with the application. And my identity actually is application by application. It doesn't travel with me, and it's not really owned by me because I can't share it or take it throughout different applications. So now let's switch to the Web3 world, and that's where we're headed. That's where many of us live today. It's called the ownership economy. So difference between Web 2 and Web 3 is ownership. Ownership of your data, ownership of your identity. So now I have an ability to have a digital identity, and that identity now travels with me. So I no longer have to have multiple ways to sign in. I have a way to sign in, and that digital identity enables me to collect my data that I can decide who to share with, how to share, and when to share that piece of data. So we'll go a little bit deeper, but let me just start there. So why this is so important, first of all, is if I look at Google and Facebook's annual advertising, they get paid, they get revenue of $100 billion from selling your data and my data. So that data has value, and it's important not just because it's my data, but because of the way that it's used and leveraged in the old world that changes dramatically in the Web3 world. So let's look at how that change occurs. So I'm going to show you my identity, which is sandy.nft. So if you want to transfer me any crypto, send it to sandy.nft. So here's what you see right away. You see that picture? That's an NFT. It's actually a fame lady. I could put any picture there, and I do. I switch out my picture a lot. And that fame lady now represents me a lot of times. So like if I'm an adjunct professor at Carnegie Mellon, I can switch it and leave it my fame lady. But if I'm presenting somewhere else, like I just presented to a group of chief digital officers, I may switch it to something more professional. Underneath that identity, that sandy.nft, you see my wallets. And I have multiple wallets. So you see my multiple wallets there that are linked to my identity. And that makes it easy for me to transfer cryptocurrency back and forth. I can use sandy.nft instead of that long, complicated series of letters and numbers that I might have to use. Below that, you see that I have my humanity check verified. What does that mean? It means that I have actually proven with a government issued ID that I am a person. And then under there, you see my websites. Now, on the socials, on this side, you can also see I have stored in my digital identity my social media profile. So I could share how many followers I have on Twitter or Tumblr. I can share that if I want later on, but that is stored with me, as well as badges. So I have an innovation badge I won for an early adopter contest. I have a badge for Lazy Lions. I have different types of things that matter to me that are now stored in my digital identity. So that's what my digital identity looks like today. Now, over here to the right is a very important part of that identity. It's part of what I call my permissions. So now, when I go to use that identity to sign in, that application may ask for access for different information. And I can choose what I want to share. So they may ask me for my email. Maybe I don't want to give that out. I bought a t-shirt the other day and oh my gosh, I think I'm getting 7 emails a day from this company. So maybe I don't want to give my email out. Maybe I want to give my social profile out. There are Web3 social media platforms that I can give my social platform reputation out to, and they'll credit me for all those followers I have on Twitter and other places, or my location. So you get the picture. I decide who gets the data. I decide how they get the data, when they get the data, and how much data they get. So that's what my digital identity looks like today. Now, so far, there are over 350 million digital consumers. That's up 70 million since 2020, and we expect that number to rise exponentially, not linearly, as we go. So why is that? Let's talk about why that digital identity is so important, that it's driving such an increase in what we're doing. So I guess the question that most people ask me is, okay, what can I do with that identity? I now have Sandy.nft. What can I do that's valuable? So before we go on to that, I wanted to also share a piece of research because I think this is really important as well. So Pew Research predicted, and this is not that far away again, by 2030, that the use of online digital identities will unlock economic value of 6% in emerging countries and 3% of GDP in developed countries. That's impactful. So that means it's important to countries, important to cities, important to states, as you look at how this digital identity will roll out. So let's take a look at why it's so valuable. What's so important about it? So I wanted to put on one page some of the use cases of that digital identity. And there are more, but I wanted to walk you through some of these in detail so you can see how I use that identity to show that utility is so valuable in the future. So I'm going to start first with a website. So if you think about a domain on Web 2, the first thing you think about is, oh my gosh, it's Amazon.com. That's going to be my website. Or it's Intel.com. That's going to be my website. Well, you can do the same thing with a Web3 domain. You can place that domain and create a decentralized website. You're using that same domain, just like you do in the .com world. You're using that to present a website. So for example, if you want to build a personal blog like thought leader Tim Draper did, you can do that. He's got a website called timdraper.crypto. Now, if you're going to go look it up, you have to use a Web3 browser. Brave is one of those Web3 browsers that you would use to look it up. It's still decentralized. It's still not searchable by the Web2 search engines, but you can see where this is going. That website is now decentralized. You could also look at Busy Sports. They're looking at the future of gaming. They've got a .x website. Or you could look at Deadheads. They've got a .nft because Deadheads is an NFT collection. And that's how they've launched their content for their community. So now you can use that domain as your website, just as you do in Web 2. So that's utility there. But now it goes further, because now it's not just about your business, but it's you who can create your own personal website or thought leadership posts. So what else can you do with your digital identity? Well, another valuable thing that you can do is you can now email in a decentralized way. So for example, we've partnered up with a company called Skiff, and we've provided augmented functionality to our unstoppable domain email, which takes a way that you can use that domain to do emails. So let's look first on the unstoppable side, which is really privacy central. That's really important in Web3, right? You don't always want to be doxxed. And so on the unstoppable email, I can take sandy.nft and I can make sure that my email is protected. So I, as a company or a partner, can integrate this in, get emails, but not be able to see them. So the person hasn't shared that email with me. When you combine that with Skiff, our partner, now as a user, you can send and receive end-to-end encrypted email. So here you can see my example, sandy.nft@ud.me. I can send an email that is end-to-end encrypted with Skiff, our partner. So now I've got another value add. Not only do I have my website address, I now have the capability to use that as my email, and I can be private if I want a company to have it for a newsletter, but not for anything else. And I can also send encrypted mail out as well. But there are more use cases too. You can also take that digital domain and use it on a mobile device. So you can have your domain on the go now. This will enable you to manage it on your mobile device. You can also back up the information. As you would imagine, since it's got data on it, you want to back it up. And a cool feature that I use at business shows or conferences is you can see, again, I've taken my NFT. Again, I could interchange it, but that's my NFT right now. And I have a QR code on there. So I could have that QR code. You could scan my QR code and get information that I want you to know about me. Maybe I want you to know my email address, but maybe I only want you to have my Twitter handle. So I can customize that as well as I go. So now I've got a domain that provides me with a website, with an ability to email and an ability to manage it on my mobile device and have a business card that is appropriate during COVID times as well, a digital cool one as well. But one of the prime values of that digital identity now is that I can now use that digital identity to sign into different applications. So I can take that identity, sandy.nft, and I can sign into a metaverse. Here I've used one of our partners, Metaverses, Atlantis, and I can sign in and play this game. Now, when I sign in, Atlantis may ask me for certain information and I can choose what I want to share and what I don't want to share. Because then some of that data may be stored with me that I don't want to share with someone else. But the cool thing is now I want to sign in to do finance. So I'm going to sign into a DeFi application, a decentralized finance application with that same sandy.nft. So here I use Cook Finance. I'm now signing in with that same ID, again, me having the ability of what I want to share and what I don't with the finance application. And then I can take that same sandy.nft and go and use Huddle. Now, Huddle's kind of like the Zoom of Web3. You can do video conferencing. And now, again, I have the ability to share what I want to share, but I'm using that same capability of being able to log in as I like to say that digital identity travels with me through the metaverse as we go forward. Now, another great thing, we talked about this a little bit, but that domain as well, that digital identity, sandy.nft, you saw it was connected to my wallet. So now, instead of typing in that long string of characters of letters and numbers, I can now use sandy.nft to transfer money or to receive money or to buy an NFT. I wanted to share this with you because I thought it was really cool. We partnered up with Blue Studios and they have a family wallet. Why is that cool? Well, first of all, they partnered with us, so you can use sandy.nft or your digital identity to do that. But what it does is it teaches the whole family about this whole Web3 world. It is a learn to earn platform, which gives you the ability to have your children learn and earn some crypto. But it also gives you the ability to have the whole family participate. So you can have your grandparents and your mom and dad and your kids and your aunts and uncles all learning together. We also created a family DAO template. So remember I said DAOs, the Decentralized Autonomous Organization. We now have a template to where you can actually experience a DAO and learn about it as your family. Your kids, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles can all come together and vote on things. So you can experience and learn what that new governance model is really going to look like. Check that out too. So now you've seen all these use cases for that digital identity. And I just will say that I believe that self-sovereign identity is inevitable. You see it coming, right? You see the power in it, you see the utility, and you see the growth. It is inevitable. And I would go as far to say that digital identity is actually a human right for us to own our own data. Now, if we think about it, I'll just give you a couple of stories. I was with my husband this past weekend and we're going to a Texas party and we have to dress up for it. I used to live in Texas and we were in California, so we have to dress up. And so we were talking about this in the car. When we arrived home, Facebook is posting ads for me about cowboy hats, Stetson cowboy hats, and cowboy boots, Roper cowboy boots, and all these things that I could buy. So obviously that information wasn't private. It wasn't owned by me. It was used by others to now start to sell me things that I was talking about. Now you may laugh and say, yeah, but who cares, right? It's cowboy boots and a cowboy hat and fringe on your shirt. But now let's think about it in another context. A friend of mine just had his son diagnosed with a particular illness. And unfortunately, he had to go do a lot of research on this particular illness. So he went and started doing all this amazing research on it. And then he started getting ads and different offers, health policies that came in. That now, to me, seems really scary. It's unlike a cowboy hat and a pair of cowboy boots. Now, other people know about a healthcare issue that maybe I don't want to share, and definitely, his son did not want to share either. So we've been talking about a lot of things here that are available today, but the possibilities here are endless, right? And I always get asked this question: what's your favorite digital identity application? And I always say, I can't tell you because it hasn't been invented yet. There are so many amazing things. So let me just give you two examples really quickly. One is healthcare data. I was just at NFT NYC. I met with a group of startups that are in the healthcare space, and they're creating healthcare data on an NFT. Why are they doing that? Well, they told me that 60% of misdiagnoses occur because the doctor doesn't have all the information about you. Well, what if that was in your digital identity, and then you could share that information with whoever needed it, increasing your odds of having a successful diagnosis? Now let's go to schools. My daughter recently took a class and I tried to get her transcript. Oh my gosh, they told me I had to fax something to them. I didn't even know where a fax machine was. And then they mailed me a piece of paper that now I have to keep on record. What if that diploma and all those records were on your digital identity? And then you could share it with a college or a job that you wanted to share it with. Mind-blowing, right? So many opportunities. So I believe where we should be is that we need to own our own data. We need to choose who we want to share it with. And we need to give the power of that identity and our data back to us, back to the people, because that data is our data. So for me, I've got a couple of predictions that I'm going to leave you with today. One, I predict that Web3 digital identity becomes the gateway to the internet, to that new 3D dimensional internet that pop up everywhere today. Two, I believe that Asia will be the driver of this digital identity. Look how many of you are sitting in the room. Look how many of you are virtually out there today. Three, Web2 companies are already coming to us. They want to pilot these Web3 digital identity concepts. And four, I believe that as we move forward, both this decentralized digital identity and government-backed identities will continue to find utility. I think maybe one for a personal use case, one for an official use case as well. I see lots of opportunities for government, cities, states, federal government. Just so many opportunities there as well. So I hope that you've learned a lot today and that you're going to take away. Hopefully you're going to go out and get that digital identity that's yours. Like you saw, I have sandy.nft. Hopefully you now know the utility of the digital identity, what it is, and the difference between Web 2 and Web 3 is the ownership of that digital identity and your data. Thank you so much for having me here today. It was a pleasure to be part of a conference that my old alma mater Amazon Web Services is helping to lead the charge and to represent unstoppable domains and that concept of digital identity. Again, just as a quick reminder, if you do have questions, reach out to me on LinkedIn, tweet them to me at Sandy_Carter. Let me know how I can help you. I'm happy to do that. Thank you again so much for your time today.
What is an unstoppable NFT domain? It's your name on the internet. It's your Web3 identity. It's how you pay and get paid online. It's your universal crypto wallet. It's streamlined login across Web3. It verifies ownership of your digital assets and collectibles. It brings NFT avatars to life, an unstoppable NFT domain. It's owned, not rented. It's freedom from renewal fees. It's something you control forever. Minted on-chain and stored in your wallet. It's as versatile as you want it to be. And proof that you too are real and not a bot. It's your name. It's your reputation. It's your identity. It's you. Own it. So, what are you waiting for? Get your NFT domain today.